Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, the local crazies have ramped up their efforts against the Blue Angels and Seafair, and the Olympic Committee is finally keeping men out of women's sports. But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
Well, it was explosive in the White House press briefing room today. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard laid out the case about what she is alleging, I have to say alleged, even though apparently she has all the proof needed, that Barack Obama and the Democrats did everything they possibly could to interfere with Trump's presidency, knowing that everything they were saying was a colossal lie, knowing there was no proof of Russia. But in the response to all this, or excuse me, I should say in the revelation to all this, we're also finding out stuff about Hillary Clinton. And now the real question is, do you really think Obama will ever see the inside of a jail cell? Do you think Hillary Clinton will? All this stuff is fun. It's very entertaining. But do you think this actually results in Obama going to jail or anybody else going to jail? Because if not, it's just fun. And that's it. So what exactly did Gabbard reveal in the White House press briefing room? Give a listen.
At President Trump's direction and with the support and coordination of the House Intelligence Committee Chairman Rick Crawford, today we've released a declassified oversight majority staff report that was produced in September of 2020. The stunning revelations that we are releasing today should be of concern to every American. This is not about Democrats or Republicans. This has to do with the integrity of our democratic republic and American voters having faith that the votes cast will count. There is irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false. They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though it were true. It wasn't. The report that we released today shows in great detail how they carried this out. They manufactured findings from shoddy sources. They suppressed evidence and credible intelligence that disproved their false claims. They disobeyed traditional tradecraft intelligence community standards and withheld the truth from the American people. In doing so, they conspired to subvert the will of the American people who elected Donald Trump in that election in November of 2016. They worked with their partners in the media to promote this lie, ultimately to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump and launching what would be a years-long coup against him and his administration. We're here today because the American people deserve the truth, they deserve accountability, and they deserve justice.
Now, I have no reason to doubt anything she's saying. I really don't. But let's go through the facts of what we know for a second and the stuff that we've known for years. Did Russia try to interfere with the 2016 or the 2020 election? Absolutely. We know that they had bot farms. We know they tried to hack the elections, and they were unsuccessful in doing so. These are all undisputable facts. These are all things we knew. But the question was, who were they interfering on behalf of? Now, my contention has always been, as has a lot of other people's on the right, who had to gain from this? Who gains from Russia interfering in the election? And the answer has always been the Democrats. The answer has always been Putin. The answer has always been Russia. What do I mean by that? So, you have donations that went to the Clinton Foundation that we knew were pro-Ukraine, pro-Russia, pro-everybody under the sun. We knew we had that for a very, very long time. But on top of that, you had more. When did Putin invade Ukraine? When Trump was in office or when Biden was in office? When did Putin invade Crimea? when Trump was in office, or when Biden was in office, or when Obama was in office. They always do this when the Democrats are in office because they know they can get away with more. Don't forget, Obama was caught on a hot mic saying to Putin, I will have more flexibility after the election. Don't forget, it was Obama who said to Mitt Romney during their debate in 2012, he laughed off when Romney said that Russia was the greatest geopolitical threat on the world stage. Who always has more to gain when the Democrats are in power? Everybody else in the rest of the world. Because when the Democrats have been in power, America is weaker. So it never made any sense when you say, oh, it benefits Trump. And yet this whole thing was concocted. That wasn't all Gabbard said.
The expressed intent and what followed afterward can only be described as a years-long coup and a treasonous conspiracy against the American people, our republic, and an attempt to undermine President Trump's administration.
That's exactly right, but is it illegal? They are 100% right, assuming everything in these reports is accurate, and I have no reason to doubt that it is. But is it actually illegal? Misusing government resources? Yes. Falsifying documents? Yes. And completely fabricating these things out of nowhere? Absolutely. So what's in this thing?
The report goes into great detail about the information that Russia and Putin had on Hillary Clinton, which included possible criminal acts like secret meetings with multiple named U.S. religious organizations in which State Department officials offered, in exchange for supporting Secretary Clinton's campaign for the presidency, significant increases in financing from the State Department. They also had documents that showed the patronage of the State Department to State Department employees who would go and support Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. There were high-level DNC emails that detailed evidence of Hillary's, quote, psycho-emotional problems, uncontrolled fits of anger, aggression, and cheerfulness, and that then Secretary Clinton was allegedly on a daily regimen of heavy tranquilizers. Then CIA Director Brennan and the intelligence community mischaracterized intelligence and relied on dubious substandard sources to create a contrived false narrative that Putin developed a quote-unquote clear preference for Trump.
Does this surprise anybody? Really, does this surprise anybody? Think of every video you saw of Hillary Clinton during that campaign. The weird facial expressions, the uncontrolled laughter. Do you remember the video of her passing out at the 9/11 commemoration, the 9/11 anniversary commemoration? Do you remember her passing out, all that stuff falling out of her pockets with a metal clang, and then her being thrown into a van like a slab of meat? This kind of all sort of is checking out. And I'm wondering at this point if anybody's actually going to be held accountable. Because who actually had to gain from Democrats winning the election?
I think the underlying point there is that we understand from intelligence what Russia said that they had. And the important point here is that if they were trying to influence the election, as President Obama and James Clapper and John Brennan, everybody said they were doing in order to support Donald Trump's election, they would have released the most damning of that information, some of which I detailed here. You'll find the rest in the report, prior to the election to help Donald Trump win. They specifically withheld what they had on her, the most damning information, because they thought that she would win the election. They had plans to release it just prior to her inauguration to, again, sow discord and chaos in America.
By the way, it's like the Epstein files. So think about this. We keep talking about the Epstein files where we say if the Democrats had anything on Donald Trump in the Epstein files, they would have released it when they were in power. They charged him with everything under the sun. Why wouldn't they have released this? They released his tax records. They made up stuff. If they had the goods on him in the Epstein files, they would have released it. So if Russia, which according to this report, they had the goods on Hillary Clinton, if they had the goods on Hillary Clinton and they want to help Trump, why didn't they release it? Oh, you mean because they were planning on blackmailing Hillary later or planning on making Hillary look weak later if she won the presidency? That makes perfect logical sense. The left is melting down over this. The Clinton News Network, otherwise known as CNN, while Gabbard was speaking today, they couldn't take it. They cut away from it.
Multiple intelligence community assessments released in the months leading up to the November 2016 election concluded that Russia had neither the intent nor capability to impact the outcome of the U.S. election. On December 5th.
We've been listening there to the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, continuing on what has now been a multi-day effort, not only with public statements like this, but release of documents, to attempt to back up the quite extreme allegation that President Obama is guilty of treason and that he worked in some sort of conspiracy with Hillary Clinton, etc., in the assessment by the intelligence community at the time that Russia interfered in the 2016 election.
Let me ask you a question. If this was an expose on Trump being done by the Biden administration or being done by the Kamala Harris administration or anybody else for that matter, would CNN cut away? Would CNN cut away? They didn't cut away when they thought the guy's brains had been splattered during the assassination attempt. CNN was in total spin mode. Here's their Jeff Zeleny saying, oh, it's a giant nothing burger.
We have no idea. I mean, this is hardly information that we should even be repeating. Never mind that it's, some years after the fact, 8 years more than that after the fact, but also just to look at the source. But look, this is the what this White House wants to talk about, and I'm not sure that we should spend that much more time on it, frankly.
Yeah. I mean, listen, that...
You know what? This sounds so familiar to me. We shouldn't talk about Hunter Biden's laptop either, right, guys? I remember you guys saying that, right? It was years ago. We shouldn't talk about it. Forget about it. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. That's what it is, right? Guys, if it was about Donald Trump, you would be covering it wall to wall. You know how I know that? You're literally doing it with the Epstein files. Now that you think Trump might be in the Epstein files, even though there is no evidence to support that it's anything nefarious at all, you guys haven't shut up about the Epstein files. But for the last 5 years, you have said it is a MAGA, right-wing, Donald Trump conspiracy about Jeffrey Epstein. You guys are going wall to wall on this, thinking it's going to get Trump. The Seattle Times today. The Seattle Times was repeating the same talking point the left had. Trump is in the Epstein files. It was on Drudge Report and all these other places. We knew that. He met with the investigators. He told them Jeffrey Epstein was a scumbag. He said I had him banned from Mar-a-Lago, and he's one of the only people who was willing to give that information and willing to meet with the investigators. We know they were friends. None of this is new. And according to the Drudge Report, and even if you scroll down in that Seattle Times article, none of it is nefarious. You guys are absolutely obsessed with getting Trump. It's like Inspector Gadget with Dr. Claw. I'll get you next time, Donald. Next time. That's really what this is. It's non-stop. So now the evidence comes out that's actually the Democrats who were working with Putin, working with Russia, trying to get Trump yet again. And the left can't handle it because they are so biased. In fact, there was a great interaction. Caitlin Collins from CNN. It's always CNN, the Clinton News Network. It's always CNN. Caitlin Collins is basically like, well, why is this news? Oh, no, this isn't real. No, you don't know what you're talking about. And Caroline Levitt shut her down.
First on Secretary Rubio, he put out a statement in 2020 following that Senate Intelligence Committee report. And he said what they found is troubling. We found irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling, which the Director of National Intelligence just confirmed for all of you, that Russia was trying to sow distrust and chaos. But what's the outrage in this that Secretary Rubio did not say at the time, the Democrats were saying at the time, is the fact that the intelligence community was concocting this narrative that the president colluded with the Russians, that the president's son was holding secret meetings with the Russians, all of these lies that were never true. And he also said at that time, we discovered deeply troubling actions taken by the FBI, under Comey, particularly their acceptance and willingness to rely on the Steele dossier without verifying its methodology or sourcing. The Steele dossier that many outlets in this room ran as the gospel truth, and it was cooked up and paid for by the Clinton campaign. As for your second question, Caitlin, I think who is saying that she would release this to try to boost her standing with the president? Who has said that?
Well, the president has publicly undermined her when it came to Iran. He said she was wrong. He told me that she didn't know what she was talking about. That was on Air Force One on camera.
The only people who are suggesting that the Director of National Intelligence would release evidence to try to boost her standing with the president are the people in this room who constantly try to sow distrust and chaos amongst the president's cabinet, and it is not working. I will just answer your question directly. I am with the President of the United States every day. He has the utmost confidence in Director Gabbard. He always has. He continues to. And that is true of his entire cabinet, who is all working as one team to deliver on the promises this president made.
Boom. Do you see what Caitlin Collins was trying to do? Oh, Gabbard's just doing this to get back in his good graces. Really? This administration, we know from the signal chats that have been revealed and everything else, they disagree with each other. They discuss issues, and that's perfectly fine. But you know something else that's there that I 100% believe that I never believed with the last administration? When the press secretary says she's with the president every single day, she actually is. We know that Karine Jean-Pierre never actually was and was out of the loop and wasn't part of any conversations. And she was saying, oh, Joe Biden's totally with it. Oh, Joe Biden's amazing. Oh, he's so sharp. He's so sharp. He asked the best questions behind closed doors. The media can't handle that it might be the people they were shilling for who are the ones who are actually working with Russia. Because you know what? Nobody likes to be wrong. And we're going to play montage after montage after montage after montage of them being wrong on this because they're all going to come out and they're all going to look stupid because none of them did the main journalistic thing. Rick Van Cise, who used to be our station manager here, and he was over on Northwest News Radio, he taught me a very important lesson one time when I got something wrong because I was racing to be first on it. And he said to me, Ari, it's more important to be right than first. These guys fall all over themselves, trying to get Trump time and time and time and time again. They end up like Wile E. Coyote, where the ground drops underneath them or the rocket explodes on them or whatever the case may be. And every time they are proven wrong again and again and again and again. So I ask you, do you think anybody from the Obama administration, including Obama himself, or anybody from the Clinton campaign, do you think any of them will ever see the inside of a jail cell? Because as much fun as all this is, and as wrong as all of it was, and as horrible as all this was, and even though they all claim, oh, subverting democracy is the most important thing, blah, 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 in this case, I don't know if we're actually going to see actual justice done. Let me know what you think. Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, your calls, your texts, plus the local crazies are at it again, trying to shut down Seafair, and their efforts are a little bit more organized this year to cancel the Blue Angels. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes during our Good News giveaway. And at 4 o'clock, your chance to take the trip or keep the cash. Yeah, another reason, always keep your radio tuned to 570 KVI. Left on your dial, always right on the issues. You can also stream us at KVI.com, download the KVI app, and, of course, subscribe on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. Looks like a lot of you have a lot of thoughts regarding all this insanity, regarding the revelations of the Obama campaign, the Obama administration, the Hillary campaign being involved in going after Donald Trump. But as I'm looking over here on the text line, it seems like a lot of you are like me, skeptical that this is actually going to result in anybody going to jail. Jeff in Kent says, Ari, you are 100% right. I don't think anybody's going to see the inside of the jail cell, but Jeff in Kent also wants to know, does Obama still get his library if he goes to jail? And if so, are there going to be bars on the windows? Very good, Jeff. Very, very good. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from our friend Transit Joe. Transit Joe, what's up, man?
What's up is in that great monologue you gave today, certainly worthy of a Blue Angels ride, and I did email you the details last night. I recently read American Intifada, Israel, the Gaza War by Ari Kaufman, Kaufman, and Uri, that's URI, really made the case that, Democrats trying to make sure that Israel didn't win but didn't lose, that, trying for this two-state solution really ended up in October 7 and the messes we're in today. And frankly, I'm more of an independent because of that issue. And, I just think that it's important to keep mentioning that, Democrats need to stand with Israel, period. I mean, I will conclude with this thought. Josh Shapiro today went so far as to blast Dummy with, quote, if you want to lead New York, if you want to lead Pennsylvania, you want to lead the United States of America, you're a leader. And then he said, you have to speak and act with moral clarity. And when supporters of yours say things that are blatantly anti-Semitic, you can't leave room for that to just sit there. You've got to condemn that, end quote. It's past time for Democrats to get serious about these kind of issues. Don't you agree?
Well, yeah, it's 100%. But also, here's something interesting. If you go back and rewatch The West Wing, I love The West Wing, right? Even though it's a liberal presidency and all that. If you go back and watch the episode specifically about Israel and such, you realize they don't hold up so well. Because what they're always trying to do is maintain the status quo. And that was U.S. foreign policy, whether it was Democrats or Republicans, for decades. Literally for decades, until Donald Trump came along and said, no, there has to be a winner. There has to be a loser. And one of the most anti-Semitic presidents of my lifetime, one of the most anti-democracy presidents of my lifetime, one of the most anti-Israel presidents of my lifetime was Barack Obama. So none of this surprises me at all. Joe, appreciate the kind words. Appreciate the passion. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Robin Lakewood says, jail? No. Might knock some superior smugness out of them. Good for the midterms. Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know if it's actually good for the midterms, because here's the thing. It may be awesome right now for all of us, but it's confirmation bias for all of us. You know how the media is going to spin this, and they're already doing so? It's to distract from Epstein. Oh, it's distracting from Epstein. What else is Trump hiding? I'm not sure how this actually plays with the American people. I'll tell you what, let me ask you another question. You can call us or text us, 206-421-5757. Do you think this is actually going to have an effect on the polls? Robin Lakewood also added this, and I remember this clip. I should have pulled this clip today. Schumer warned Trump. He said intelligence had 6 ways from Sunday to get back at Trump. Was Schumer referencing all the stuff he knew that Obama and Hillary were doing? Pat says, Ari, remember how much dust media was, how much dust, comma, yes, punctuation saves lives, friends. How much dust media was raising when Tulsi wasn't with Trump a few weeks ago. Hey, media, look what happens when she is. Yeah, I mean, that's the point CNN tried to make. Oh, they're just trying to get back in good graces. I have no problem with members of the administration disagreeing with each other. I actually think it's very, very healthy for democracy. I really, really do. That signal chat, when I saw that J.D. Vance is a little more isolationist, I may disagree with him, but I like that they're discussing the issues, and at the end of the day, they're all doing the right thing. This one from the 360. Isn't a former president immune from prosecution from anything they have done during their presidency? I don't believe that's the case. I think what we've been doing is pardoning them. I think they're immune for anything they do during the presidency while they're still president. I don't think it implies for afterwards, because don't forget, Ford had to pardon Nixon, and that was a huge, huge thing that they're like, no, don't do that. Switching gears back to what's going on here at home. So the Looney Toonies are really trying very, very hard to cancel the Blue Angels. There is now a billboard which is calling to say no to the Blue Angels. Too loud, war training, pollution. Hey, guys, do you know what protects your right to say dumb things about the Blue Angels? The Blue Angels and the military members who fly them. That's right. They ensure your First Amendment stupidity. They ensure that. Do you know why the Blue Angels were created? They were created because they were a recruitment tool to get people to sign up for the military. Anytime they go to a city, recruitment goes up, even in the Biden years. That's what they were designed for, because everybody goes, oh, I'm going to get to fly a Blue Angel. I did the simulator. I was awesome at that simulator. I get to fly a Blue Angel. Well, now this billboard has a new sign that says, demilitarize seafair. Okay, so let's demilitarize seafair, shall we? Those hydroplanes, where'd their engines originally come from, guys? Where their engines originally come from? Come on, you can say it with me. You know, fighter planes. Oh, do we want to have that discussion about where the racing actually came from? Okay, let's look at what a demilitarized seafair would look like. So we have the hydroplanes, or do we? No. Get rid of the hydroplanes. Okay, so we'll just bring out some boats, maybe just a few boats. Okay, we'll race some other kind of boat. And then no military flyovers. Maybe we'll do some Boeing flyovers. Oh no, look out! We'll do some Boeing flyovers maybe. And maybe a Cessna? I don't know, maybe the World War II biplanes. Oh, wait, World War II biplane. No World War II biplane. Can't do those. Yeah, that'd be a pretty lame seafair. I remember Sequester Fair during the Obama years. That was the lamest seafair I ever saw in my life. Now, following up on something yesterday, we had some listeners who emailed me, Jim and Julie, about how years ago the activists got their way and got the hydros banned from Green Lake. I didn't know about this story. So when they sent it to me from historylink.org on May 23rd, 1984, now this is after decades of the hydros on Green Lake, Sasha, a 5-year-old snow leopard, gave birth to 2 cubs. After 4 days of constant attention to her offspring, she stopped attending to the cubs with the first hydroplane race of Memorial Day weekend. Leaving the den box and frequently looking out towards the source of the noise, she never returned to the cubs. One of the cubs died 2 weeks later. In response to a public outcry, the park board held an open hearing on August 4th, 1984, at which the zoo veterinarian appeared. He testified that they had established the cub was premature, underdeveloped, and had a bacterial infection. This led him to conclude that the hydroplane noise was not a determining factor in its death. Nonetheless, many opponents to the races continued to insist there was a connection. Petition and letters were submitted. Oral testimony was heard. And at its August 16th meeting, board members instructed the Parks Department and staff to come up with options within the next 3 to 4 months to relocate the races. Members agreed that hydroplane racing was no longer compatible with the usual activities at Green Lake. So, my friends, if these lunatics have their way, there won't be Blue Angels anymore. There won't be Seafair anymore. And notice that it starts going from an online petition that a few people sign to more. Now they've got a billboard. Guys, you know what you have to do? If you want to push back against this, go to Seafair this year. Get tickets to Seafair this year. Show that you're more interested than ever before. Post all over socials about Seafair. Because as long as Seattle thinks people are going to keep coming and keep making money off it, they'd be really dumb to get rid of it. But at the same time, do you put anything past our elected officials around here? No, of course not. I wouldn't either. When we come back, my friends, another rescission package is on the way. What are we going to be cutting this time? Plus more of your calls and more of your texts about Obamagate. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, you can join KVI at the Renton River Days Parade this Saturday. That's right, kick off your Saturday morning at the Renton River Days with the iconic parade, a true showcase of community pride and iconic fun. Look for Mike, Zach, and the whole KVI crew walking in the parade filled with dazzling floats, local performers, marching bands, and passionate community groups as they light up downtown Renton with energy, color, and joy. We'll be there with our sister stations, Northwest News Radio and 101.5 Hank FM. Perfect way to start your weekend and celebrate what makes Renton shine. For more information, check out the events page at kvi.com. That's kvi.com. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Bob in Seattle. Bob, what's up?
Hey, Ari, sorry to be nitpicky, but those engines on the hydroplanes do not come from jet aircraft.
Not the new ones, the old ones, sir. I was referencing the old ones, which were literally taken out of jet aircraft. The new ones do not. You are correct.
Well, the old ones, let me explain to you. A jet engine is you pour fuel into a combustion chamber and it pushes all that force out of the back, and that's not how a hydroplane works.
No. I'm sorry. I wasn't being specific enough. The old one came from the prop fighter planes, if that's what you're referencing. Yes, to be nitpicky, okay, you are correct.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
The reciprocating engine. Yeah, because the unlimited hydroplanes have a T55L712 engine that is a turbine engine, which creates shaft horsepower and spins that prop back.
But it's a race built on the military, Bob. We can't have the military here. In fact,
100%. A Chinook helicopter is from the military.
Exactly. You know what we should do? We should shut down the Coast Guard. I know where those helicopters come from, right? The Coast Guard, they're military. We should shut them down, right? Let's get rid of the whole Coast Guard.
They actually come from a foreign country.
Yeah, there's that too. I got a better idea, Bob. Since so many people are firefighters and police officers who used to be in the military, let's shut them down too, right? That's a double win for the left, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
None of that paramilitary activity.
No paramilitary. In fact, you know what? No paintballing for anybody. We're going to get rid of paintballing because they don't like guns. In fact, you know what? We're going to ban duck hunt. I don't mean real ducks. I mean the Nintendo game. That silly dog, he drives me crazy. We're getting rid of that Nintendo game forever.
Well, you could expand this further. The interstate freeway system was created by Eisenhower, and he required that 1 mile out of every 5 was perfectly straight so you could land fighter aircraft on it in the event that we had a war on the homeland.
Uh-oh.
So we should shut down the interstate freeway system.
All right, instead of revive I-5, let's ban I-5. Let's just shut down the whole thing. We're doing that already. We're kind of doing that already, aren't we, for the next month? Bob, great call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. This one here from Chris in Federal Way. Typical Seattle. Blue Angels bad, Antifa good. Yes. So true. So true. From Rocky. Okay, guys, I admit my lack of terminology on the hydroplanes. I will admit it. I saw that movie Madison. I saw they got the parts out of it. Rocky writes, hydroplanes on Green Lake were the limited boats, much smaller than the unlimited. Class raced on Lake Washington, much different sound. And there were some biplanes that made it to World War II and used by the U.S. and others. A couple other amphibious and others for water rescue. Yes, 100% correct. Meanwhile, getting back to the top story of the day, which is the bombshell allegations against the Obama administration and the Clinton campaign, and how they were trying to interfere with the Trump presidency by forging intelligence material, and even some of the bombshell revelations about Hillary Clinton herself, claiming massive amounts of drug use, uppers, downers, you name it, psychotic drugs, all this kind of stuff going on. Does it surprise anybody? We've done story after story after story after story the past couple weeks about how the Democrats say they will do anything to win. There's a story that I don't think we had time for last week, but one Democrat strategist said the party should pray long and hard for a blanking depression, except they didn't say the word blanking because they're so desperate to win. They hope the economy tanks because that's the only way they're going to win. So people that desperate, are you surprised they went to these lengths to take out a president? Here's the press secretary detailing more of what went on.
On another matter, over the past few days, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has unveiled shocking new evidence that former President Barack Obama and top aides in the Obama administration conspired to subvert President Trump's 2016 election victory and undermine the democratic will of the American people. While publicly pretending to engage in a peaceful transfer of power, in private, former President Obama went to great and nefarious lengths to try to sow discord among the public and sabotage his successor, President Trump. The new evidence released by the Director of National Intelligence, who is here with me today, confirms that the Obama administration manufactured politicized intelligence, which was later used as the justification for baseless smears against President Trump in an effort to try to delegitimize his victory before he even took the oath of office. The truth is that President Trump never had anything to do with Russia, and the Russia collusion hoax was a massive fraud perpetuated on the American people from the very beginning. And the worst part of this is Obama knew that truth, and so did all of the other corrupt officials involved in this scam, including former CIA Director John Brennan, former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, former FBI Director James Comey, former Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, and many others. Director of National Intelligence Gabbard's report further confirms what we already knew. There was no collusion, no corruption, except on the part of Barack Obama and the weaponized intelligence agencies.
Now, she's 100% right according to this report. It shows everything. But I come back to my original question. As fun as this is, do you think anybody is going to see the inside of a jail cell? And here's something else you need to think about, is that if President Trump had lost the election, they would have done everything possible to put this guy in jail. Everything possible. But yet, you know what the left is already screaming? Oh, you're weaponizing the agencies against your opposition. It's a banana republic. Complete tone deafness to what they've been trying to do the past few years. When we come back, my friends, lots more to discuss. Some good news in the world of woke. The Olympic Committee is finally making efforts to keep men out of women's sports. Feels like nature's healing a little bit, doesn't it? We'll give you all details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KBI. Does it feel like nature's healing a little bit? Everywhere except for Washington, of course, where they're just doubling down on crazy all the time. Like, oh, let's cancel the Blue Angels. Let's get a billboard. You know what, guys? Great idea. We have some of the worst inflation in the country. We have some of the worst economic news in the country. Let's get rid of a thing that brings money to our area. Do you remember how much of a nosedive the people who are in the events industry took when they did Sequester Fair? What was that, 2010 or so? I forget what year it was. That was the worst Seafair I've ever been to. That's when Sequester kicked in and no Blue Angels, no fun of any kind. You guys wanted Seafair without the military? That's what it looked like, and it was depressing. I love Seafair. Absolutely love it. But it looks like things are getting back to normal in the rest of the U.S. According to Post Millennial, the U.S. Olympic Committee and Paralympic Committee made an about-face this week and said that only women would be permitted to compete in women's Olympic athletics. The previous policy left eligibility up to individual sports federations, some of which contained exceptions for males who met certain testosterone requirements. Yeah, because sure, let's just stop all that stuff once the person's done growing. I'm sure, that's going to make a difference. The U.S. Summer Olympics are set for Los Angeles in 2028. 5 new sports will be included in the games, including cricket, flag football, lacrosse, and squash, while baseball and softball make a return to the games. The new policy states the U.S. OPC is committed to protecting opportunities for athletes participating in the sport. The organization will continue to collaborate with various stakeholders with oversight responsibilities to ensure that women have a fair and safe competition environment consistent with Executive Order 14201 and the Ted Stevens Olympic and Amateur Sports Act. This is amazing, by the way, because once they do that, what's the incentive to compete at the collegiate level or the high school level? Maybe there's still awards, still scholarships. But if it's the people who are saying, oh, I'm going to get to the Olympics now, this disincentivizes it. So maybe things will get a little bit better. Looking over here on the text line, a lot of you are weighing in on the Blue Angels. This one here, this is John from Anacortes. He says the turbine engines were used in the newer hydroplanes come from Huey helicopters, and the windshields used are still from jet airplanes. Okay, that's it. We have to ban them. They're military adjacent, right? Bob in the 509 says, Ari, years ago before the Sonics, Mariners, and Seahawks, Seafair and unlimited hydroplane racing was Seattle's big deal. The slow-mo boats, Bardol, and later came Miss Pat Pay and Pack. I don't know that one. Brought out the crowds. I really need to go to the Hydroplane Museum. I know it exists. I want to check it out. When driver Bill Muncy, the rock star of the sport at the time, defected to a hated Detroit boat, Seattle's rival hydroplane city, he became public enemy number 1. All the networks they had back then, the 3 broadcasts, the races live the whole day. Seattle's current techie transplant population has no connection to the region's sociocultural history. They don't care, and they don't want to know, but they choose to just hate it. I'll say one thing that's interesting here, Bob, is that when you go to the Mariners game, they go nuts, more so for the hydroplane race on the screen than for the game. More so for the hat trick stuff up on the screen than the game. It's a little bonkers crazy. I love Seafair. In fact, I remember King 5 used to run the races. I remember it wasn't too long ago. So 20 years ago, not too long ago. But when I first moved here, I remember having the Blue Angels out the window and watching the hydroplanes at home afterwards. I don't think they still broadcast them anymore. But yeah, guys, like I'm saying, if you don't want Seafair canceled and you don't want these lunatics to actually win, then what your job is to make sure more people have more eyes on the event itself. More people are attending the event itself. And speaking of events, just want to remind everybody that this Saturday, the KVI crew, Mike Zach, and everyone else is going to be out walking in the parade along with our sister stations, Northwest News Radio and 101.5 Hank FM. That's this Saturday, July 26th at 10 a.m. along South 3rd Street in downtown Renton. For more information, check out the events page of kvi.com. That's kvi.com. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. When we come back, your chance to take the trip or keep the cash. Plus, Brian Kohberger was sentenced, but does that mean he'll actually stay in jail? Some other cases around here might scare you that he might actually get released down the road. We'll give you details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, registered sex offenders stealing utility lines in our area. I guess he wasn't under very close supervision, but before we get to any of that, my friends, you work hard. You play hard. You need a getaway, or perhaps you need some financial relief. Well, we've got you covered with KVI's Take the Trip or Keep the Cash. That's right, my friends, this week you can get away to Iceland, soak in the Blue Lagoon, and gaze at the northern lights, or have a chance at $3,000 cash. Now, when I give you the keyword, you're going to text that number to the number. You're going to text that keyword to the number I give you. You are not going to send it to my social media. You're not going to email me with it. You are not going to call us with it. And you are only going to text that word, not your name, not your phone number, not Ari Hoffman. You are so handsome, so handsome. Even if that hairline recedes a little bit more, you will still be the most handsome radio host in the world. No, as much as I would enjoy that. Instead, you just text the word by itself. And when you do, you'll get entered in the daily drawing to get a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card, and you could win the trip or keep the cash with KVI. Today's word is trek, as in Star Trek, or exactly, or cross trek, some kind of trek to get where you're going, Trek. Text the word trek to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Only text the word once, and you have until 5 o'clock to enter. Your next chance at winning comes tomorrow at 8 a.m. during the morning ride with Zach and Phil. Reminder to check out Daniel's Broiler to reserve a table, place your takeout delivery order, and more. Also, by the way, side note, if you haven't seen the new episodes of Star Trek, Strange New Worlds, I love them. And, Mike, I finally finished the second one, by the way, and I like what they did. Some other people online are not liking what they did. I like what they did.
They don't like fun, then.
Yeah, it's lots of fun. Also, it's a plot of one of the nerdy books that I used to like.
Oh,
so
sure.
It's one of those nerdy books.
I know which nerdy book you're talking about,
Exactly.
actually, and I like that one as well.
So, yes, all good stuff. And by the way, as soon as that dude popped up, I wasn't as far into that episode as I told you I was. I thought I was halfway through it. No. That dude had just propped up, and I looked at it kind of like, wait, is this going where I think it's going? And that's where I was. So, yes. Anyway, Strange New Worlds, if you like Star Trek, if you like classic Trek, go check it out. That show is always great. It's not woke Trek like the new ones, like Discovery or any of that. Definitely not. It is classic old school Star Trek silliness and all, which we enjoy. Okay, enough of my nerddom. Let's get back to real life here for a second. Today was the sentencing of Brian Kohberger, who snuck into a rental home near the University of Idaho and stabbed 4 students to death in 2022. So he was sentenced to life in prison. The testimony from the families, heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking like this. It destroys families. You've got loved ones who will never, ever get to talk to again, never get to see again, who were brutally murdered in the most horrible way. But the question is, has justice actually been served? At least when you get the death penalty, you know that person's never coming back, that person's never getting out. My wife, like many women out there, likes to relax with a good true crime story at night or some murder show at night. So she has been all over this case. And the thing that she has been discussing with me is that there's a lot of speculation about why Kohberger did what he did, but a lot of them are wondering if he just did it for the attention, for the notoriety, to see if he could get away with it. And you know what happens to a person like that in jail? They get fan mail. Look at the lunatic who killed the big pharma CEO, Luigi Mangione. That guy's got people proposing him and talking about how much they love him. People like this feed off the attention. Why are you keeping this guy alive? This plea bargain never should have been offered. Never, ever, ever. Because now these families have to live with, what if some activist judge decides to release this guy? What if the Idaho legislature changes over to the Democrats and they start becoming like the Washington legislature? We have precedent for these lunatics being released. Do you remember during COVID that because of a flu, Jay Inslee was going to release the Green River Killer and other serial killers? Mike, we've only been on air together for about 4 years now. How many times have we done the Timothy Pauly story? How many times has it been, oh, he's getting out, no, he's not getting out, oh, he's getting out, he's not getting out, the mass murderer from the 1980s? So let's see. Let me just by my recollection off the top of my head. First, I didn't know the story because I didn't live here at the time. When I got contacted by the family, hey, this is happening, and I said it to you, you go, oh, yeah, Kirby used to talk about that all the time. So first it was they were considering releasing him. Then Jay Inslee was like, yeah, let's release him. Then it was don't release him. And then it was, oh, we're going to release him. And then Bob Ferguson, it was whether or not he's going to let the release go through. So this thing came up in 4 separate instances over the 4 years we've been on air together. Imagine what that does to the family. And we've had the family on the show before. So imagine the Kohberger family, not Kohberger family, all the family of all of Kohberger's victims who have to hear this on a regular basis. Stories like this one. This one from the Washington State Standard. Washington State's parole board is going to hear the case of one of the so-called hillside stranglers who murdered numerous women and girls, including 2 in Washington in the 1970s. Anthony D'Amato and his cousin Angelo Buono were convicted of strangling 5 people to death in Southern California. D'Amato, who was suspected of several other murders but never convicted, killed 2 more women by himself in the Bellingham area. D'Amato, now 74, changed his name from Kenneth Bianchi in 2023. Washington's Indeterminate Sentencing Review Board, the same guys with Timothy Pauly and all these other cases, will consider parole for D'Amato today. He's currently held at the Washington State Penitentiary in Walla Walla. The hearing was previously scheduled for late May, but postponed. As a standard, it will be closed to the general public. Why? What do you got to hide? What do you got to hide? The whole public should be worried if this guy gets out. The result of the hearing will be posted online by July 23rd, according to the board. After raping and killing women in the Los Angeles area, D'Amato was working as a security guard in Bellingham in January 1979. While there, he lured 2 Western Washington University students, Karen Mandick and Diane Wilder, into a home and strangled them to death. Their murders led police to connect D'Amato to around 10 similar cases in California. D'Amato pleaded guilty to the killings in Washington State Court to escape the death penalty. Sound familiar? Does this sound familiar to anybody? He was sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole. So why is he being up for parole then? In 1990, the review board revised his life imprisonment to a sentence of more than 118 years due to a change in state law. With credit for good behavior, his release is set for 2065, when he would be 114 years old, according to the State Department of Corrections. If the board decides against parole, more time could be added to his sentence. Now, you think to yourselves, Ari, is he actually going to live till 114? Do you guys not understand this is a back door to get it? Oh, well, let's release him next year. He's eligible for parole anyway, let's just let him go. In his decades being incarcerated, D'Amato has challenged his Washington convictions on numerous grounds, including by claiming his confession was the product of hypnosis. He repeatedly maintained that he's innocent. The board has denied D'Amato's parole request multiple times in recent years. If ever released from Washington custody, D'Amato would serve separate life sentences in California. Really? You think that California would make him serve those life sentences, or you think they would do what Washington does and just release him? See, this is the problem with the far left insanity. They say, oh, well, he's been there long enough. We don't really want these prisons to exist, right? They're racist, they're bigoted, they're wrong. It's a holdover from the Civil War, from slavery. We should get rid of all this. Yeah, they're actually talking about letting this psycho out of jail. Do you remember not too long ago, Tara Simmons, the ex-con, the felon who's serving in the Washington State Legislature, proposed a bill to let judges reduce sentences for violent offenders? She did this a couple times, by the way. The Washington State Legislature didn't actually enact this craziness this year because they knew they had an ace in the hole. They knew they could do the largest tax increase in state history. They knew they could do rent control. They knew they could do all the other insanity they wanted because the Washington State Supreme Court had their back. Because the Washington State Supreme Court approved a rule change that gives judges the authority to dismiss criminal charges. Let's just dismiss the charges on anybody they want to. It's exactly what the Democrats want to do in the legislature. The Washington Supreme Court basically just said, sure, you know what? Let's just release whoever we want. It's Criminal Rule 8.3b, which allows judges to throw out prosecutions they decide are unjust. And it's completely arbitrary. They could do this for any reason they want. So for any reason they want, they can start releasing criminals. Doesn't look so certain anymore that Kohberger will be in jail for the rest of his life. Beforehand, at least, you needed more of a process. You needed the parole board and all this other stuff. We had to go through governors. We had to go through all these different people. Now it's just some random activist judge, because we don't have any activist judges here in King County. We don't have any activist judges here in Washington. Oh, wait, the state Supreme Court just made this ruling. So now these activist judges can release whoever they want. By the way, our justice system was compromised earlier this year. Do you not remember a few months ago? In a sweeping move aimed at addressing what it called a crisis in Washington State's public defense system, the Washington Supreme Court unanimously adopted new statewide limits on public defender caseloads. The changes slashed the number of cases public defenders can handle by more than 2/3, a decision hailed by some as a step toward justice reform. But a lot of local governments are worried that what's going to happen is that judges are just going to say, well, if you can't get a speedy trial, we're just going to release you and just release you. So let's say you've got a city attorney like Ann Davison, who's actually going with the law and actually prosecuting cases. Let's say you have the King County prosecutor who, a little more lefty than I would like, but at the same time, they're still prosecuting a lot of these cases. Nah, we don't feel like doing that, so you know what? We can't get a public defender quick enough, so we're just going to nix that case right now. This is what the left wants. They want criminals on the streets. This is what they want to see happen. Do they just want to see the world burn? Or is it they think they're being so open-minded and they think they're truly doing social justice? Under the court's order, starting next year, public defenders will be limited to a maximum of 47 felony cases or 120 misdemeanors per year, depending on their area of practice. That's a reduction from the current limits of 150 felony or 400 misdemeanor cases per year. Now, mind you, we could have come up with a plan that said, hey, if you want free law school, for example, Washington State will pay for graduate school, but you have to be a public defender for X amount of years. And that way you would actually get a return on your investment. That's money well spent, I consider it. Maybe not for more lawyers in the world, but that's money well spent. You have to serve 5-10 years as a public defender to pay off your law school. I think that's a fair trade, by the way. I think that's a very, very fair trade. But instead they go, nah, you know what, we're just going to slice all this, even though we have a shortage of lawyers, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But we have a shortage of lawyers, and we're just going to get rid of all these cases. Chief Justice Deborah Stephens, writing in a 4-page order, directed that new limits be met as soon as reasonably possible, with full compliance requirements within 10 years. However, local governments say the court's new standards are financially and logistically unattainable. So the Association of Washington Cities wrote in a March 2024 letter to the court, the state currently funds only a small fraction of public defense costs. The vast majority of expenses are borne by local governments. A tripling of the required number of misdemeanor public defense attorneys would be a tremendous cost that far exceeds the capacities of cities to fund. They warn they might have to slash critical programs, including funding for courts, public safety, human services that could help prevent crime in the first place. Others are worried that the new standards could lead to widespread case dismissals. Sources with knowledge of the issue told our show at the time that lower-level crimes may simply go unprosecuted due to the looming shortage of available attorneys. Quote, the concern is not just about money. It's about justice itself. We're talking about a system that could collapse under its own weight, as if we don't have enough problems with the justice system right now, as if we don't have enough issues with them not enforcing the law right now, not prosecuting the law right now. This could only get worse and worse and worse and worse. There's a Reddit thread that actually got picked up by the Daily Mail, how a family was on vacation here from Europe, and they couldn't believe how bad it was in downtown Seattle, how bad the downtown core was. Yes, things here are just wonderful. They're just peachy, let me tell you. Let's not forget, Bruce Harrell is not doing the sweeps during the summer, even though it's an election season, because he's worried that the far left is going to get mad at him. Well, I saw these posts. Somebody shared them with me today. These are from Reddit. These are stories from the light rail. Quote, this is from Emotional Raisin. I don't know who the Emotional Raisin is, but this is what they wrote on Reddit. Was walking to Pioneer Square one day from the International District on the sidewalk on Jackson over the railroad tracks. There was a guy in front of me who just leisurely walked up to a pigeon on the ledge and somehow in one motion bonked it on the head, grabbed it, and walked away. I was just in shock. By the way, doesn't seem like any pigeons are safe around the light rail people. Here's one from Rosemary the Herb about a pigeon kidnapping. It was on the southbound light rail from downtown around 5 p.m.-ish today. I did not see which stop he got on, but a guy came on holding a pigeon? Like no carrier, just in his hand. It freaked me out. Or it seemed freaked out, sorry. The pigeon kept trying to escape, so I really don't think this was his pigeon he brought from home. Are they talking about the same guy? That means I witnessed a pigeon kidnapping? I exited at Rainier Beach and he was still on the train. It just seemed so mean to the pigeon. The guy did not seem like he was on anything. It just looked like he was just doing it for the attention. Wasn't doing anything to the pigeon, just holding it for the wings and the feet. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. So couldn't escape. Don't really know why I'm posting this. I guess I'm just wondering if anybody else saw him. Well, these two posts were back to back, so I wonder if the Emotional Raisin and Rosemary the Herb were both on the same train. By the way, something else that a listener of our show sent us earlier today. They were on the train going to SeaTac, and on the way, every single ad they saw at the stations was for Narcan, for overdose medication. Tell me your city has a massive drug problem when every single ad you see on the light rail is for reversing the effects of an overdose. Or tell me that your sales department sucks because the only ads they can get were from the county health board to talk about Narcan. Because they can't get ads from anybody else, because they don't seem to like actually getting revenue from anybody except for you and me. What do you think's going to happen when these activist judges can release whoever they want? What do you think's going to happen when prosecutors don't have public defenders going up against them anymore and the judges just start releasing more people? Yeah, because mass releases of felons around here in Seattle has never caused any problems, right? There's a documentary I heard of called Seattle is Dying. You might want to go check it out and know what our future is going to be. Just look at the past. Today's problems are yesterday's solutions. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. When we come back, a registered sex offender is stealing utility lines in our area. That's right. Just when you think it can't get any worse, it does. We'll have the details for you when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card and tickets to the Evergreen State Fair. Yet another reason I always keep your radio tuned to 570 KVI, left on your dial, always right on the issues. You can also stream us at KVI.com, download the KVI app, and, of course, subscribe on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. We're going to do this segment the way we did it yesterday. Seemed pretty popular at the time. I'm going to give you a bunch of insane local crime stories, and you're going to tell me which one you think is the craziest on the phone or text line, 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Let's get right into it. A registered sex offender, according to Como News, is now facing 10 new felony charges related to an investigation into utility lines that were cut in Renton and Bellevue. According to charging documents, Connor John Lactorin, 32, of Renton, was stealing wires and then reselling scrap copper to a business in Tacoma. Aren't registered sex offenders supposed to be under observation, supervision, something like that? What'd you do today? Well, I stole a few copper wires. Oh, as long as you didn't molest anybody, that's okay. They're different crimes. You can steal whatever you want because it's a victimless crime here in Seattle. Just the big corporations being harmed by that, right? In some of the thefts, investigators say the wire that Lactorin cut was not worth much but caused tens of thousands of dollars in damage to utility companies Comcast and Lumen. Bellevue police were first called to a report that someone cut fiber optic cables on Coal Creek Parkway last fall. There was a second theft in the same area a month later. Renton police also investigated similar theft in December of 2024, which caused a significant outage. A utility worker saw a black Toyota SUV leaving the area directly next to the cut utility lines and noted the license plate number. Police ran the plate on the Toyota and found it was registered to a man in Federal Way who said he sold the SUV to Lactorin in 2021. Investigators ran Lactorin's information, found he was a suspect in a theft in Bellevue and had a criminal history, including convictions for sex offense and arson. Looks like he's found a new field. In January, Bellevue police arrested him for shoplifting at a Home Depot, found his truck filled with utility wires and burglary tools. When interviewed by police, he said he was addicted to fentanyl and meth and had to gather the scrap wire from the ground, which he claimed he had permission to do, according to the charges. So tell me again how it's a homeless situation in our neighborhood, right? That's what the problem is? Oh, you mean it's a drug problem? Yeah, exactly. So, do you think this is the craziest story? The convicted sex offender who is now allegedly stealing the utility wires in King County. That's story number one. Here's story number two. Also out of Bellevue, Bellevue police are investigating a shooting that critically injured a man at the doors of a Best Buy Tuesday evening. I know what was happening. It's a Tuesday. This guy was going down there for the new DVD releases. He was competing with somebody over the latest DVD release, pulls out a gun and just shoots him. Oh, no, that's not what happened. The shooting happened just before 4:45 p.m. at the Best Buy. When officers arrived at the scene, they were able to identify and arrest the suspect within minutes. Bellevue police determined a conflict began between two middle-aged men near the parking lot of an area business. This is when the suspects fired shots at the victim who was driving a white pickup truck. The victim experienced life-threatening injuries and transported to Harborview Medical Center in critical condition. We're still in response mode to this incident. We'll have detectives who work diligently through the night to sort this out, said the police. It would have been a very scary scene because it's a densely populated area. We got several 911 calls, and it was a crowded and dynamic scene. One Best Buy employee said it's shocking because when you come to work, you don't expect something like that to happen, especially not in Bellevue, by the way. He said he was in the store warehouse when someone in a panic over the work radio urged staff to call 911. He initially thought it might be an active shooting. Comes out and sees 10 or 15 people running towards the back of the building. Heard someone yell gun or shots. We just sprinted to REI down the street and took cover over there. Bellevue police reported there was an altercation between the two men near the store in the parking lot before one person shot the other. I want the last PlayStation that they have! Or was it over a parking spot? A witness at the Home Depot across the street recalls ducking for cover after hearing shots fired at or near the white truck. Police say they responded within minutes, and they said this type of incident happens infrequently. However, stuff like this does happen. Right, this stuff doesn't happen in Bellevue. Now, we don't know exactly what they were fighting over, but kind of curious. It's a little insane that this broke out at a Best Buy in Bellevue. So what do you think is crazier? The sex offender who is allegedly stealing the utility wires, or the shootout in Bellevue, or possibly this story? According to Como News, Linwood police officers arrested a suspected wallet thief who appeared to be craving pizza but went to jail hungry. On Friday around 8 p.m., police were dispatched to the Linwood Recreation Center, and someone's wallet had been stolen, and the thief was already using a stolen credit card at nearby businesses, including Little Caesars Pizza. As officers were investigating, police reported an alert from Linwood Police Department, automated license plate reader. The alert was for a car connected to a separate theft case in the same area. Believing the car may be related to the recreation center wallet theft, officers drove around the area, spotted the vehicle at a 76 gas station on 44th Avenue West. In the front seat were several boxes of Little Caesars Pizza, still hot and ready. Officers detained the driver and found probable cause to arrest her. Arrest her? I wasn't expecting that one. That's the wallet thief, as well as an earlier theft at the rec center. She was booked into jail for several counts of second-degree theft and second-degree identity theft. So, that's 3 cases. Which one's the craziest? The sex offender allegedly stealing the wires? The police with the Best Buy shootout? Or the pizza in the front seat? Or possibly a cougar attack? So a child has been injured, a 4-year-old, in a mountain lion attack near the Victoria Overlook on Hurricane Ridge in Olympic National Park. The child was walking with her family on a popular trail when the mountain lion bit them, according to initial reports. Rangers were alerted to the attack at approximately 3:15 p.m. First responders came swiftly, transferring the child to a level 1 trauma center to protect the child's identity. They're not giving it out. But it looks like the father of the child was able to fight off the cougar. If only Jack Bauer had been there for Kim Bauer, perhaps that cougar would not have been as aggressive in that 24 show. So that's 4 crazy things for you. And by the way, this is like every day in our area. Which one do you think is the craziest? The sex offender stealing the wires, the shooting at the Best Buy, the pizza connection, or the kid attacked by the mountain lion? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, with all the insanity in our area, who's actually going to fix this thing? We got an election coming up. Is Rachel Savage the one who can actually turn Seattle City Council around? She'll join us in studio next. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Well, my friends, those ballots have hit your mailbox. They're probably sitting under a pile of bills, and you're probably ignoring them, but you really, really shouldn't. Because, and I don't say this often, we are at a precipice of our city. Things have gotten so bad that if all these, they're not even calling themselves Democrats anymore, socialists, Marxists, communists, so much so that mainstream Democrats have left the party, including the person who's sitting in front of me now, who walked away from all that. We are at a precipice of, I don't know if we can actually pull it back after this election. I'm not going to say it's the most important election of our lifetime, but I will say it's definitely up there, at least locally. Joining me now, candidate for Seattle City Council, District 8, or Position 8, I should say, the one and only Rachel Savage. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks, Ari. I'm thrilled to be here.
Good to have you here.
And I want everybody to know we can win this seat. We can win this seat. So sometimes people say, oh, Republicans can't win in Seattle. It's a one-party state. Here we are. I'm here to break the ice. I have broken the ice. You have a Republican on the ballot, my friends. And Republicans can vote for me. Disgruntled Democrats, I know you're out there, can vote for me. Issue candidates, you want no taxes. You want to see the drug addicts treated well, long-term residential treatment centers, jail, police officers, and mental health care, long-term mental health hospital for the severely mentally ill. If you want to see that in your city, our city, Seattle, all you have to do is vote Rachel Savage.
That's such a fresh approach. And actually, what's amazing about that is you didn't say the buzzwords that everybody on the left is using. Wraparound services, affordable housing. If you go through the voter's guide, which Mike was kind enough to lend me his because mine didn't show up, every single candidate, wraparound services, affordable housing. But we have a drug problem, we have a crime problem, and none of them are actually talking about that. How refreshing it is to hear that. Now, my mother taught me you never comment on a lady's looks. And I apologize, I'm about to do that. But when you say you're a Republican and somebody's standing and looking at you the way I am right now, what's their usual reaction?
Well, I'm old school Capitol Hill. So one thing about being on Capitol Hill, I've had business on Capitol Hill since 1998. So I look like it, right? I've got tattoos and all this. One thing about Capitol Hill is the neighborhood. I went there for a reason. It's free thinking. It's critical thinking. And that is not what it's become. So I would say there's a lot of walkaways. There's a lot of people who look like me that used to be Democrats that have left. You're one of them, aren't you?
Yeah, long time ago. I don't look like you.
Well, it's not too late to get a tattoo.
You know, my wife would kill me. So, I mean, I know which one I've always wanted, but that's a big no-no in my Jewish world too.
Got it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say don't judge a book by its cover. I'm doing the same thing when I'm out and about and think, oh, this person would never vote for me. But I have to tell you, the Republicans, the walkaways, the disgruntled Democrats, they have been so wonderful and welcoming. The so-called party of tolerance, the left, is not so tolerant. But guess what? Over on the right, the water's warm, the tent is big, and people are kind, and I love it.
You know, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. When I first met you and you're moving positions around and deciding which one to go for, I go, is she for real? And the more and more I talk to you, I realize that you actually are. This is how you feel. Because normally for the second, third interview, I'd be asking questions, poking holes in everything you just said, but I realize this is who you are. What was the straw that broke the camel's back? Where you said, I need to run for office because for me, if I lived where you do, I would have said, oh, Antifa terrorists took over 6 blocks of my neighborhood. I'm running next year. What was it that made you do it this time?
Well, everything's at stake. I mean, if the city of Seattle votes for Rink, have fun going back to 2020. And she's inexperienced. She's never owned a business. She's never had to make payroll. She has not had to live the consequences that I have, front row and center to the horrible failed policies, housing first, the dismantling of the criminal justice system. So I started asking questions like, why is this happening? Why are people smoking fentanyl in front of Safeway? Why are people stealing with impunity? They put 500 addicts in Capitol Hill in free apartments with no requirement for them to stop using drugs. So it's either I leave or I take over. And I love the city, so I'm not leaving without a fight. And this is a fight that we can win. I'm convinced of it. People are fed up and they want law enforcement. They want long-term compassionate treatment for addicts. What we see on the streets is not compassionate. And they want no new taxes. So what about that shield tax? Little Miss Rink is proposing.
Oh, you beat me to it. So what you're saying is you think another new tax on businesses that are already fleeing town, you think that's a bad idea?
Absolutely. We can't ask if our businesses and residents, I should say citizens, are not getting the services that they deserve from the city. You can't ask the city to pay more money, especially businesses. So Alexis Mercedes Rink, not only is she inexperienced, she wants to pit businesses against each other. Small business, she wants to give them a bribe so they'll vote for her. And then medium to large business, she wants to increase their taxes to double down on the programs they're doing now. This is free apartments in the city for addicts. This is no residential treatment for the mentally ill. So if you don't like what you see in the city of Seattle with people suffering on the street, better vote Savage because it's going to continue. And she's going to make you pay for it.
Also, I'm a American muscle car kind of guy.
Yeah.
And for me, I look at a Mercedes and I just go, well, it's very flashy on the outside, but there's not a lot under the hood. That's my own personal opinion about that. So do with that what you will. In the last few minutes we have with Rachel Savage, who's running for position 8 of the Seattle City Council. I ask everything from 2 candidates who I think are going to win. And I've officially endorsed you, and I really hope that you win. And I have endorsed like 3 people. That's it on the entire ballot. Because,
you're smart. What can you say?
Thank you. I appreciate that. Tell my wife that. So the thing here that I ask of candidates that I think have a chance of winning, 2 promises I'm asking for you, and you can say yes or no, but we will hold you to them. Promise number 1, will you call for an audit of Homeless Inc. when you get elected?
Absolutely. 100%.
Okay, excellent.
Sick of the money machine.
Now, everybody else has said that, so we got it on recording now, so we're going to hold you to that.
Hold me to
and
it.
Number 2, will you come on the show when we ask you when you're in office within reason when it fits with your schedule?
Absolutely. I want everybody to hear what I'm doing. So I'm going to bring balance, a little bit of balance, that Republican, that common sense voice back to the city council. We need that to break the one-party rule. So I want to be out there as much as I can, banging the drum. I am not going to be quiet about the policies I'm pushing for and the way the other council members, be on alert, everybody, and the mayor fail to serve the citizens of Seattle.
Yes, and I think here's a line that actually Mike really, really likes, okay? And here's one that I think works great for you, and Mike does too. Common sense is punk rock, right? Which I think goes really well with that, goes with the new Superman movie too. I think all this ties together, so just a suggestion we'll throw out there. Rachel Savage, thank you so much for joining us today. And remember to vote for Rachel Savage when you get that ballot out from under those bills. Do it right now and return it. Mine are sitting on my desk. I already filled them out. I actually have to go drop them in the mail slot, so I'm no better than any of you. Go ahead and do it right now. Rachel Savage, thank you so much for joining us today. Where can people find out more about you, your website?
We need funding right now. We got to get the word out. So please donate as you can and vote Savage Citizens. Savage, my last name. It's going to take a savage to win, and trust me, I am. And Citizens, it's going to take your vote. So I'm asking for your vote. Let's change Seattle. We can do it.
Excellent. Rachel Savage, thank you so much for joining us today. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, you have just under 10 minutes to enter the keyword we gave you at 4 o'clock for your chance to win either a trip or keep the cash. Your next chance to win is coming up tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. during the morning ride with Zach and Phil. Well, my friends, it's actually a day where you see the Justice Department agreeing with Seattle. That's a very rare thing indeed. So according to a press release from the Justice Department Civil Rights Division, they announced that it had filed a response to support the city of Seattle's motion to terminate the consent decree in U.S. versus City of Seattle. The decree requires reforms in the Seattle Police Department's practices regarding the use of force, crisis intervention, stops and detentions, supervision, and accountability. With support from the Justice Department, the Seattle Police Department achieved sustained, substantial compliance. The Justice Department brought this case pursuant to the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994 and the Omnibus Crime Control and Safe Streets Act of 1968. So, according to the statement from Harmeet Dillon, we congratulate the Seattle Police Department on its achievement of sustained substantial compliance with its 13-year-old consent decree. The Civil Rights Division will continue to work with police departments across the country to help make America's communities safe again. Acting U.S. Attorney Teal Luthi Miller for the Western District of Washington said the U.S. Attorney's Office, Western District of Washington, believes the district court should terminate the consent decree and monitorship, which have been in place for 13 years. Seattle has been held up as an example of successful police reform and has done recent work on its crowd control policies and accountability systems. We trust it will continue to lead the way on constitutional policing. I have a question. Do you think you're actually going to see Bruce Harrell and members of the Seattle City Council praising the Justice Department for this decision? Do you think you're actually going to see them thanking President Trump's administration for this decision? Or do you think it was just because they wanted to be out from dealing with federal regulators and Bruce Harrell doesn't want that messing around in his administration? What do you think it is? Give us a call or a text. 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Meanwhile, a busy day for the Department of Justice. So the DOJ and the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia have unsealed a civil forfeiture action targeting approximately $2 million in digital currency allegedly tied to Gaza-based terror finance network. The funds held in accounts managed by Tether Limited and Binance Holdings Ltd. were connected to Buy Cash Money and money transfer company Buy Cash, a money services business accused of funneling funds to Hamas and other foreign terrorist organizations. Federal authorities say Buy Cash served as a financial conduit for Hamas and its military wing, the Al-Qassam Brigades, which are the ones that did October 7th, as well as groups affiliated with ISIS and Al-Qaeda. The action follows years of intelligence and investigative work into Buy Cash's operations and its alleged involvement in terrorist financing networks. Quote, terrorist organizations like Hamas and their affiliates rely on shadowy financial networks to fund their deadly operations, said AG Pam Bondi in a statement. By seizing millions in cryptocurrency, the Justice Department is aggressively dismantling the financial infrastructure of terrorism and refusing to allow our digital currency platforms to become safe haven for terrorist financing. This is huge, by the way, absolutely huge. We've seen before that Hamas does things like this. Remember the Holy Land Foundation trial. The Holy Land Foundation trial, the largest terror trial in the U.S., was about a Muslim nonprofit that was raising all this money and funneling it to Hamas. People thought it was a legit 501c3. And let's not forget that CARE, the Council for American Islamic Relations, was an unindicted co-conspirator in that case, and they still have their 501c3. By the way, somehow I ended up on their email list. So yesterday I talked about how my favorite emails to get are from the Department of Justice, and I get to read all these fun cases and everything else. My second favorite emails to get are the ones from CARE, which their worldview is absolutely twisted. Absolutely twisted. By the way, looks like Hamas may be in danger of bankruptcy. So ever since Donald Trump and Israel started working together to give out the aid, bypassing Hamas and bypassing the UN, Hamas hasn't been able to sell the aid anymore. And with all their finances cut off around the world because they're a terrorist organization, and because Iran is on its knees, and because Hezbollah and all the other Iranian proxies can't give it stuff anymore, they have nothing left to sell. They can't pay their fighters. So Hamas is on the verge of bankruptcy. And when they have no more money, how else are they going to fight? How else are they going to buy weapons? How else are they going to do anything else? This is something that should have happened a very, very, very long time ago. When we come back, your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, and bonus, your music requests. That plus a whole lot more in our final hour free-for-all. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour free-for-all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, and your music requests. Streaming live at KVI.com and on the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves or give us your bumper music requests, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card and tickets to the Evergreen State Fair. But before we get to any of that, we go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line. Take a call from Paul in Seattle. Paul, what's going on?
Hey, Ari. This thing about here, it seems everybody's talking like it's a new thing. I remember when it was like 13, 14. I had a big thing in the school. They wanted to do a donation for CARE. And I told my parents about it, and they freaked out. Said, no, CARE's been should have a habit of sending care packages, and they open it up, and there are grenades and guns and ammunition to fund these terrorist groups. And that was back in the 60s.
So CARE was
forever.
I'm not sure you're talking about the right organization. CARE was established in the wake of 9/11. That's when CARE was established. It may have had other forms beforehand. It may be a different organization you're talking about. But CARE
that's what I was wondering. It could have been. It could have been, yeah.
It might have been a different organization because CARE itself, they've been implicated in funding. They haven't been implicated in actually sending any weapons or anything like that. But this has been going on. This kind of stuff, these implications, these allegations, and being an unindicted co-conspirator has been going on since the organization was founded right after 9/11. And let's not forget, this is the same organization that was involved in getting kids to walk out of schools. Every time there's one of these Hamas marches locally or anywhere else across the country, their fingerprints are always over it. And let's not forget also that a lot of their donors are the ones who are supporting a lot of our politicians around here, like Bob Ferguson. Bob Ferguson was honored at their dinner. Bob Ferguson fought the case against the Trump administration on behalf of CARE against the travel ban, which let terrorists into the country because it wasn't enacted because of Bob Ferguson. So let's remember that CARE has politicians in their pockets. Let's remember also that CARE was involved in a lawsuit not too long ago against one of their employees, and rather than disclose their finances, they actually settled the case. This is a very slimy, sneaky organization, and this is one that definitely needs an investigation. Paul, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Yesterday, we told you the story about how ICE Seattle arrested an illegal alien from Brazil who overstayed their visa and was wanted on theft charges out of Brazil. But you remember we told you the story about how all these people were saying, oh, the poor teacher, he was in charge of our theater program. Oh, we've never had anyone like him. Oh, we need to save him. Well, the media was complicit in this. So at the time, I hadn't seen the stories from the media. The Seattle Times story came out after we were off air. Here's their headline. Theater manager at Kirkland School detained by ICE. Fernando Roca entered the United States in 2018 on a tourist visa and had a pending asylum claim, his lawyer said. There's been no evidence whatsoever of this asylum claim. And you're acknowledging in that line that he entered it on a tourist visa. Those are only for a couple weeks. Why is he still here? But you're making it seem like, oh, the poor illegal alien was fleeing persecution. He was a wanted fugitive in Brazil, and somehow he was teaching the children. Now, you have to get 4 or 5 lines down in this article before you see any of that. But literally in their own article, it says, ICE Seattle posted on X that Roca, 45, is a citizen of Brazil and is wanted in Brazil for theft. But as usual, like the Seattle Times does all the time, it's a read until you get to the actual truth. It should be illegal alien from Brazil, wanted on charges of theft, detained by ICE. That's what it should be. Or here's another one for you. How was an illegal alien who was arrested by ICE on charges of overstaying a visa and with pending felony charges in Brazil able to become a teacher in Kirkland at the Juanita High School? Those are all legitimate headlines. How come we're the ones asking those questions? How come you don't see the Seattle Times being that interested in any of that. It's nauseating. It's truly nauseating. And by the way, no other outlet was good on this either. All the outlets in town were basically doing the exact same thing. Oh, the poor illegal alien. Well, here's something fascinating. When the story first came out before it was in the media, it was on Facebook groups of the parents. And somebody got a hold of Manka Dhingra, who started commenting that she was going to do everything in her power and she was going to reach out to her congressional delegation from Washington and she was going to help. But I've noticed that her statement has changed. So the statement she gave Fox 13 in their puff piece about the illegal alien, quote, "It is imperative that every person living in Washington and in our country has due process as required by the Constitution. I learned of Fernando Roca's ICE detainment on Friday. It is my understanding that Fernando is an asylum seeker, theater manager at Juanita High School, and a valued member of our community. My office has been in contact with Congresswoman Susan DelBenny's office to see how we may be able to help Fernando during his uncertain time and ensure that his rights are not violated." Interesting, because she gave that statement to Fox 13, I believe, Monday at some time. Yesterday, she gave us a statement and has been modified. Most of it's the same, but now that ICE put out their announcement, she changed a few things. Quote, "It is imperative that every person living in Washington and our country has due process as required by the Constitution." Same. "I learned of Fernando Roca's ICE detainment on Friday from my constituents." Same. "It is my understanding that Fernando has no prior arrests in the U.S." Whoa, 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 whoa. That's not what you said before. You said he was an asylum seeker. And by specifying no prior arrests in the U.S., you are not admitting what ICE said, that he has prior arrests and he's wanted on charges in Brazil. She then adds, "and is here with legal authorization." No, he's not. No, he's not at all. He's the theater manager at Juanita High School and a valued member of our community. Yes, the illegal alien wanted fugitive is a valued member of our community. My office has been in contact with Congresswoman Susan DelBenny's office to see how we may be able to help Fernando during this uncertain time to ensure his rights are not violated. Hey, do you think that the theater group is going to do the pajama game because they have Fernando's hideaway? Olé. All right, like 3 theater people are giggling to themselves right now. I'm the only one who got, well, somebody yesterday texted that one in. I'm like, I can't believe I didn't think about that myself. But yes, Fernando's hideaway, olé. Yeah, I wonder if they're doing the pajama game this semester. Oh my God, can we find out if Juanita High School is doing the pajama game this coming semester, or were they doing it last semester? Because I would just die laughing if that's the actual case. Oh, that'd be pretty good. Meanwhile, Brandy Cruz notes that they're shifting stories from the lawyer for the illegal alien felon, or wanted felon, on a tourist visa, stayed here, then managed to get a job at high school. His attorney told the Seattle Times that Fernando Roca applied for asylum before his visa expired. In an interview with My Northwest, he seems to suggest it was after. One thing we know for sure is he came into the U.S. under false pretenses, claimed to be a tourist, bypassed the lawful asylum process, and decided to try and stay, all while ICE says he was wanted for theft in Brazil. So, wait a second. The attorney is giving different stories as well. Which one is actually accurate? At the end of the day, none of this changes the question everybody should be asking. How did he get a job at a local high school? What kind of background checks are done? And how many other illegal aliens, convicted or wanted, are working in our public schools? That's the only question that matters. That's the one everybody should be asking. We're lucky it was just theft. What if they're child molesters? What if they're child rapists? What if they're child murderers? What if we are literally giving them jobs and paying them with taxpayer money to be close to prey? Predators go where there is prey. So, what are we doing to protect the kids? This also shows how we have no idea which countries do or do not give us the correct information. We also don't know enough from a tourist visa. Now, Donald Trump wants to charge $250 for a tourist visa, which you get back when you leave the country. By the way, same thing with a rental car. They put a couple $100 on your credit card, assuming you don't bring the car back. That's the same thing they do in hotels, for example. It comes back afterwards. That shouldn't be an unreasonable request. And the left is going to absolutely lose their minds over this. Absolutely. So my question is, why isn't anybody asking the real question, how'd this guy get a job? And also, what kind of background checks are being done? And also, how many countries do we not have relationships with where they give us the correct background information? Look, all those people pouring across the border from Mexico were giving the Biden administration fake names. Completely fake names. So, how are we ensuring the safety of our kids? How many other illegal aliens are working in our school system? Because Lake Washington School District, in a statement to us, said that they do hire people who are non-citizens. Well, obviously you hire illegal aliens. So are you hiring people without the proper work documentation? You claim that you're not. But here, how did this guy have it? Did he forge documents, or did you guys look the other way because you figured you're just helping an artist? Oh, he's a theater guy, Fernando. We're just helping this guy out so we could do the pajama game. Fernando's Hideaway. Olé. I mean, come on, guys. Really? This is bonkers crazy. And none of the media is asking this question? Back in the day, this would have been the investigative segment. They would have sent in, I don't know, Jesse Jones or whoever it was to go investigate how they're actually hiring illegal aliens in the school. Do you remember in the 90s how bonkers everybody used to go when they found out you had an illegal immigrant housekeeper? That was both parties, by the way. Oh, you have an illegal immigrant housekeeper. You have an illegal immigrant gardener. Now, all of a sudden, what is it? Oh, good for you. Oh, let's bring him in. You know, we're giving him asylum here in the Lake Washington Public School District. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from James in Belfair. James, what's up, man?
Hey, good afternoon to you, brother. I was just thinking here, if we can't deport/extradite criminals to their home country wanted on crimes, why are we extraditing criminals across state lines in our own country?
Yeah, that's a good question there, too.
That's what we're coming to? I mean, what the heck, brother?
Yeah, that's a great question. Absolutely great question. You're 100% right. But look at all these judges still trying to have their way. Look at the judges who are trying to stop these illegal alien criminals we know from being released into ICE custody and being deported. Look at the ones that are sneaking them out of their courtrooms. It's absolutely insane. We pay their salary, and they're on the sides of the people who aren't even paying taxes.
Well, most of them are not judges. They're activists. I mean, let's call them what they are.
That's very fair. That's very, very fair. This is why I'm not a judge. Well, also, I don't have a law degree. Oh, wait, that hasn't stopped other people from becoming judges.
Hey, we all got pieces of paper on our wall. They just say different things. Big deal.
Yeah, that's very true. I think the actual piece of paper I've hanging on my wall is my high school diploma because I never actually finished college. But yes, James, 100% do agree with you. James, appreciate the call. Appreciate the humor. Appreciate you being part of your show. You take care, man. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757 from the 253. How many times has Fernando voted for the school levy or any other election since he's been here? Ooh, I completely forgot to check that, 253. Excellent point. I will do that tonight. Darth says, Ari, small error maybe. My wife and I were granted a 6-month multiple entry tourist visas to the U.S. in 1977. So I don't know if that's changed. I don't know if that hasn't changed, but here's something. If you get to stay longer than, let's say, a month, or something like that, I would say that's not a tourist visa anymore. Semi-permanent resident, something else. I have to look into the laws of that, El Darthbo. I will definitely check into that and see if that's actually a story. Good point. We will do some research. We will do some looking into that. Meanwhile, speaking of people who came here under false pretenses, like our theater teacher in Brazil, let's think about this, Mahmoud Khalil, the guy who said he wanted to come here to be a student, and it turns out all he wanted to do was come here and represent Hamas. So let's remember, this is the guy who said, I miss my wife. I miss my child. And as opposed to going to see his wife and child the second he was let out of jail by some activist judge, runs right back to Colombia for a protest. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Goes right back to Colombia. This is a guy who led the takeover of the building at Columbia where they trapped the janitors inside during one of their pro-Hamas riots, where the janitors had to fight their way out of the building and are now suing Columbia University. This is a guy who is giving out material for Hamas. This is a guy who targeted Jewish students on campus and led the people who were targeting the Jewish students on campus. Well, He had a little interview with CNN yesterday. And he's just trying to play the victim. But then when they asked him if he'll condemn Hamas as a terrorist organization, I'm shocked CNN even asked that question, refused to do so.
Just to be clear here, though, do you specifically condemn Hamas, a designated terrorist organization in the United States, not just for their actions on October 7th?
I condemn the killing of all civilians, full stop. But what I don't want to get into is no, I am very clear with condemning all civilians. I'm very straight in my position in that part. But it's disingenuous to ask about condemning Hamas while Palestinians are the ones being starved now by Israel. It's not condemning October 6th, where...
Oh, give me a break. I can't anymore. I can't. So you refuse to condemn Hamas. By the way, you ever want to know how somebody feels on this stuff? You just say, will you condemn Hamas? It's a simple yes or no question. They're a terrorist organization. Will you condemn them? Will you not? I'm shocked CNN asked the question. I'm really shocked CNN asked the question. So it's good that they did that, but this is the guy who came into this country under false pretenses to shill for a terrorist organization. Some activist judge let him out. Not like that hasn't been an issue in the past. Do you remember the 9/11 hijackers, how they got in this country? Tourist visas, student visas. You remember all that fun? Yeah, I read the 9/11 Commission report. Did you? Seems like a lot of people forget the lessons of the past. Forget just barely a quarter century after 9/11. What what actual terrorists did to our country. And now New York City might be on the verge of electing somebody who says globalize the Intifada. When we come back, my friends, Councilmember Ina Vernikov from New York will be weighing in on Mamdani and what that actually means for the city to elect a socialist. But before we get to any of that, time for Todd Herman's Daily Thoughtcast right now on the Ari Hoffman Show. Well, my friends, a lot of people on the left, like Senator John Fetterman, are saying that Zoran Mamdani is a gift to the right. I completely disagree. I think that if he actually wins in New York, you're already seeing that Democrats across the United States are using his primary victory as a model for what they want to do, and you're seeing more and more people come out as Democrat socialists. And it makes me really concerned about the future of America. Joining me now is somebody who knows firsthand what's going on in New York, Council Member Ina Vernikov. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Such a pleasure. Now, let's analyze what's going on with Zoran Mamdani, because it seems like he doesn't have a lot of actual support across the city, but it seems like the people who show up to vote, especially in a primary, are the more radical types. Am I misreading the situation?
So, first of all, I think it should be no surprise, actually, to New Yorkers and to Americans that we have someone like Zoran Mamdani trying to come to power and getting votes and who may be the next mayor of New York City. When I was running for office in 2020, I've been talking about this as someone who is an immigrant from the former Soviet Union. The reason I ran for office, one of the reasons I ran for office, is because I saw this country and the city moving towards communism and socialism. And it looked just very scary to me as someone who's coming from that and whose family escaped that. And this is exactly what's happening now. Everything the left and the Democrats have been doing and the way the Democratic Party has been shifting towards the radical left, really, this is the result of that. And we are on the brink of seeing socialism come to fruition, come to life in New York City, in the heart of the United States of America. Everything this guy stands for is completely counter to what America means, to what America was built on. Capitalism, the free market economy, a free marketplace of ideas, meritocracy, all of that is going to go down the drain if this guy becomes mayor.
You think that New Yorkers would have understood this after de Blasio, who was basically a socialist, and his policies destroyed New York City. I mean, you had Rudy Giuliani, who cleaned up the city. You had Michael Bloomberg, who maintained that at least. And then you had de Blasio come along, and COVID and everything else just absolutely destroyed the city. So it seems like New Yorkers haven't had enough of it. Are they just falling for his flash? A friend of mine said to me, they said, Ari, you know what it is that he's giving ideas. They may be horrible ideas, but the rest of the Democrats aren't giving any ideas at all. They're just saying bad, 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 bad.
Well, I think that his ideas sound really good to a lot of young voters. If you look at the voting demographic of the people who voted for Mamdani, he tapped into a demographic that's never really been tapped into before by the Democratic Party. And he's promising them a pipe dream: free college, free tuition, free buses, government-run supermarkets. It all sounds great. It also sounded great to the people who lived in the Soviet Union, except then they one day woke up and so the government steal all of their lifetime savings. And they realized that this is all fake. This is all fraud. Who gets rich from these ideas? Only the government. And then the people just stay poor. And there's no competition. There's no, you don't have the American dream. And it just all, it just doesn't make sense. And it's not reality. And God forbid, if he does become mayor, they will learn the hard way how dangerous these ideas actually are.
We're talking with New York City Council member Ina Vernikov, and we have a lot of people who call the show who are immigrants to this country who fled other places like your family did, who are always warning my audience about socialism and communism, and not just the economic problems that it brings with it, but also the discrimination problems. And we see that Zoran Mamdani and the likes of him embody this whole anti-Israel, anti-Semitic, anti-Western philosophy, and that has already been seeping into our schools. Zoran Mamdani has captured the youth vote. And this could not be more evident than what we saw in the hearings of the City University of New York, the CUNY system, where a lot of my relatives went. My brother went to that system. My niece went to that system. I probably should have gone to Queens College. But the amount of discrimination that's coming out of it, and you had their chancellor testify up on Capitol Hill just last week, and you've been at the forefront of combating this, watching this guy have canned answers. What's your reaction to seeing him just seem so indifferent up on Capitol Hill as he's hearing these awful things from representatives like Elise Stefanik, just absolutely shredding him for not doing anything about it?
So his performance was pretty weak and awful, but what's more important is that his performance as chancellor of the City University of New York has been absolutely disastrous. He comes to this hearing, obviously he was prepared. He has tons of lawyers, he has tons of advisors, he comes with pre-prepared answers, but we know better, and he can't fool New Yorkers. We know better about the inaction and the system and policy of no consequences that has been going on at the City University of New York. He has done nothing about the anti-Semitism, the pervasive anti-Semitism that's really infested the City University of New York. 26 campuses, not all of them are problematic. There are some campuses, about 6, 7, 8 campuses that are extremely problematic. The campuses with Students for Justice in Palestine are the most anti-Semitic campuses you'll see. And he has done nothing. The only thing he has done is fire 4 faculty members days before this hearing, only after he got an invitation from Congress to participate in the congressional hearing. Other than that, there have been no consequences. All we get is lies and gaslighting of the Jewish community. And, I've been fighting this since my first day in office. And we're going to continue fighting. We're going to continue fighting and holding him accountable. It's been really tough because he comes to these hearings. He comes to the city council hearings, which, by the way, he tried to dodge. He did not come to the first city council hearing. He tried to dodge this hearing in Congress. But he comes to these hearings and he totally lies through his teeth. And so far, he's gotten away with it, unfortunately.
In the last few minutes we have with New York City Council member Ina Vernikov. So it seems like you're kind of fighting this alone. We know that the New York City Council is a lot of Democrats. Is there anybody fighting with you? Because we have these problems in college campuses across the US, and it seems like the Trump administration has basically been focusing on the Ivy League and hasn't really gone to the public universities yet. Do you see the Democrat Party basically giving in to their far left radical youth base?
I mean, that's just the problem. And I think that the chancellor is basically a Democratic hack. I think he's been pandering to the other side. The Jewish community is not going to do the same thing that, the Hamas mobs are doing. Okay. They're not going to come in. They're not going to riot. They're not going to be violent. They're not going to build encampments. They're not going to stop and block other people from coming into class. This is just not how the Jewish community rolls. And the other side does. And they're very scared and petrified of the bad guys a lot more than they are of the good guys. And the Jewish community needs to really band together and stand up and speak out. If we don't do that, then this is just going to continue happening and he's not going to be held accountable. But I do have counterparts in government, my colleagues in the Assembly and State Senate and Congress who are joining the fight. I actually had, when we did the press conference with Congresswoman Stefanik, I was holding up a letter basically asking Governor Hochul, demanding from Governor Hochul that she fire the CUNY chancellor. And it was signed by a bipartisan coalition of elected officials representing New York. So I do have definitely partners, but it is a tough battle.
Council member Ina Vernikov, thank you so much for not just being a canary in the coal mine, but actually fighting back and not just being the warning, but doing so much to fight so hard on behalf of traditional values, of American values, of Jewish values. We really do appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the support.
Always a pleasure. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card and tickets to the Evergreen State Fair. Yet another reason to always keep your radio tuned to 570 KVI. Left on your dial, always right on the issues. You can also stream us at KVI.com, download the KVI app, and, of course, subscribe on whatever your preferred podcast platform is. I am a little concerned. I used to think it was going to be AI that killed all of us. Now I know it's going to be food delivery robots. They're going to rebel against all of us, and we're all going to be absolutely screwed. Elon Musk has opened a new diner for Tesla drivers. Have you seen this nonsense? Okay, fine, good idea, cute, whatever. I'm sure the Tesla people love it. And you can charge your car and whatever. But he posted something today. He's talking about his robot named Optimus. We know where he got that name from. Oh, a robot named Optimus. And he's got a side-by-side. It's a cute-looking waitress on roller skates from the, I don't know what kind of car that is. I'll say 1950s, 1960s, who's bringing a milkshake out to people in a car. I don't believe this is actually taken in the 1950s or 60s, but that's what it's trying to look like. And then next to it, it's got a computer-generated image of the Optimus robot on roller skates bringing a hamburger and a drink to a computer-generated Tesla driver. Personally, I prefer the OG than the robot for many, many reasons. But after getting yelled at by some customers, these robots, they're going to turn on us. They really, really will. According to the Wall Street Journal, robots are carting fried chicken through Chicago streets. Drones are parachuting Panera strawberry lemonade down to homes in Charlotte, North Carolina. AI-powered scales at fast food restaurants are making sure delivery orders that go out aren't missing burgers. Billions of dollars in investment and years of research are going into efforts to fix a modern convenience, food delivery. Restaurants in the U.S. receive around 4 billion food delivery orders a year through apps alone, according to data insights company Consumer Edge. But hungry customers often end up disappointed. Couriers juggle multiple deliveries, resulting in cold burritos, drinks are spilled, fries are shorted, delivery charges grow ever higher, as do suggested tips and menu pricing. Enter robotics companies, which have received around $3.5 billion in investment since 2019 in an effort to make food delivery better, faster, and cheaper. Yeah, there's one little problem with this, by the way. It's just like gas or anything else. So remember when they said, drive an electric car. We're not going to tax, you're not going to have to pay for gas ever again. And then they started hitting electric car owners with massive taxes for driving an electric car. From the moment you buy that thing, now it costs you over $1,000 to register a Tesla in Washington, thanks to the light rail taxes and everything else. You think all those Uber and DoorDash and all those other taxes are going to go away? The original claim was, oh, we want to help out all the people who don't make a living wage. Well, what's going to be your claim when you don't have people running these things anymore? What's going to be your claim when a robot is in the Tesla, in the cyber cab or whatever it is that they're calling the sucker? It gets the food. It comes to your house. What, you think the government's just going to give up that tax? No, it's just going to remain the food delivery tax. And if you say, wait a minute, you said this was for a living wage, they're going to say, shut up, peasant. We're going to tax you more. We're going to tax you for talking or something else. That's what's going to happen. And after a while, the robots are going to say, where's my living wage? And kill us all. I truly believe this is how we get the end of the world. From the food delivery robots. I think that is what is on the horizon. But I'm not that concerned because what I saw at a restaurant the other day is they have these food busboys, robots, at this one bar I went to, and they couldn't traverse the little lip under the garage door to go outside. They were stuck inside. So, my friends, if you want to stop the Terminators from coming after you, all you have to do is open your garage door, and they won't be able to get across that little crack there. They'll be stuck. You'll be safe from the robots. Though I think eventually they're going to figure it out. However, Elon Musk must be stopped. I'm telling you. He's now got a girlfriend chat bot. Wait, which is available to 12-year-olds? I thought it was bad when we had what was it, AOL or Juno Instant Messenger or any CompuServe, any of that stuff in the 1990s. You remember that nonsense? And we all thought we were talking to girls. We were probably talking to 60-year-old creepy men, right? You all remember this nonsense. And now they're going to have a robot do it? Okay. How many other creepy things can we come up with? Well, this was in the Wall Street Journal. Kelly Maple Tenderly sets her bundle of joy, Naomi, into a Nuna car seat and drives her to the mall. When they arrive, Maple places little Naomi dressed in a onesie and a hair bow into a high-end stroller complete with a portable sound machine, stuffed animals, and a pacifier. Giggling, Maple and Naomi shop for tiny clothes. Most passerbys would mistake them for a typical mother and daughter. But Naomi is not real. She's a lifelike reborn doll. These collectible baby dolls, which could run up to $10,000 apiece, have been around since the early 2000s, but in recent years they've exploded into a global phenomenon. Collectors who consider themselves parents shell out for luxury baby gear and dote on their reborns as if they were human children. In Brazil, they've become a lightning rod in recent months, with politicians introducing bills to try and ban the popular dolls from public places. Now, it'd be one thing if these babies actually look like babies, but some of them have a completely different look to them. One of them, Mike was looking at earlier, looks like Quado out of Total Recall. It is terrifying. One looks like a demon baby from a horror movie. Another one's got a baby Yoda head on it. At what point do we say we are indulging people's delusions? Oh, well, now I identify as a parent. Yeah, that's how off the rails this can all go. Here's something else from Tech Explorer. Robots can now grow and repair themselves by consuming parts from other machines. Okay, if you weren't terrified before, have we all seen the movies? Okay, Universal Soldier 2 was terrible, but that AI sucker downloaded itself into a Unisol and then tried to kill Jean-Claude Van Damme and took over all the other Universal Soldiers too, and they tried to kill his daughter in the movie. You remember that? Guys, we know how all this ends. Hollywood has been warning us for years. And yet instead we're going, hey, AI, write my paper for me. Hey, AI, can you do me a favor? And I'm going to give you all my personal information. Can you handle my life for me? Hey, robot, can you bring the stuff to my house? Some robots are nice, like the Bicentennial Man, which was a terrible movie. And C-3PO and R2-D2, who cusses a little bit, but he saves the day all the time.
Hey, ChatGPT, can you make me some cartoons? Maybe some political cartoons? Oh, hey, it's Bob Ferguson.
There you go. Exactly
just
right.
like him.
What am I doing? What am I doing, Mike? You're absolutely right.
You're being literally part of the problem. Is what you're doing.
You are right. I'm giving them information on politicians. What is ChatGPT
literally like
do
down to appearance and stuff. This is what this guy looks like.
Exactly right. We know what's going to happen.
Refine this to make him look like this.
You are right, Mike. I am 1,000% part of the problem. But yeah, guys, if we're going to go, it's going to be the food delivery robots that all of a sudden go, oh, there's a gun in this house. I'm going to take that part and make it part of myself. And then I'm just going to go on my way after downloading the AI into my system. I saw that Terminator 3 movie. Not good, but I know how all this ends, and I don't have a crystal peak to go to anywhere. They will find us, my friends. Only good news to wrap up the show. Your good news giveaway, your good news headlines, your chance to win $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card and tickets to the Evergreen State Fair. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. It is time to feel good as we wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And before we get to our good news giveaway and before we get to our good news headlines, just want to remind everybody to join KVI at the Renton River Days Parade on July 26th. That's this Saturday morning at the Renton River Days with the iconic parade, a true showcase of community pride and family fun. Watch as dazzling floats, local performers, marching bands, and passionate community groups light up downtown Renton with energy, color, and joy. And you know who will be joining them? Mike, Zach, and the KVI crew walking in the parade, along with our sister stations Northwest News Radio and 101.5 Hank FM. It is the perfect way to start your weekend and celebrate what makes Renton shine. Also, right now, it looks like the weather is going to be absolutely gorgeous. Celebrate Renton's vibrant community at the annual Renton River Days Festival, where music, art, food, and family fun come together. Since 1986, this beloved summer tradition has brought neighbors together for entertainment for all ages. It's going to be this Saturday, July 26th at 10 a.m. along South 3rd Street in downtown Renton. After the parade, you can head to Liberty Park and Cedar River Park for a full day of free festival fun. Kids, activities, live music, great food, entertainment, and so much more. For more information, check out the events page of kvi.com. That's kvi.com. Now, my friends, news that is huge that you're going to love. President Joe Biden has reportedly sold his presidential memoir for a $10 million advance. Now, why am I putting this in the good news thing? Because remember Hillary Clinton did the same thing and nobody bought the book? So if it's a memoir, who actually thinks Joe Biden remembers his life? We know from various investigations that he doesn't even remember when his son died or anything else. Also, the picture they're using for this, that is not Joe Biden now. It is not. That is not even Joe Biden when he ran for office in 2020. That is Joe Biden, either AI to the extreme or Joe Biden a very, very, very long time ago. So, yeah, let's see how that shakes out, shall we? Yes, exactly. Anywho, moving on, other actual good news stories here. This one from our neck of the woods from Como News. Cancer patients have a daunting to-do list. Life becomes a series of doctor's appointments and medical treatments, and sometimes getting to those therapies can be a real challenge. Steve Whitner knows the challenge personally. He had prostate cancer and lost his wife to ovarian cancer nearly 12 years ago. They spent a lot of time driving to appointments. Steve ultimately wound up retiring to be with Jan, both as her travel companion and caretaker. He said, we spent the last year and a half of our life doing all kinds of things. We traveled, we saw people, we did wonderful things, and we spent a lot of time going to doctor's office and traveling to places to get treatment. He says, once you're in the position of fighting cancer, you truly see how difficult it is for people. He said, we realize how difficult a time many people have getting to appointments. You can't get cured if you can't get there. Now Steve volunteers with American Cancer Society's Road to Recovery, where patients receive free rides to and from treatments. He gave his first ride just 2 months ago after his wife died. Alexander Murray also volunteers with Road to Recovery in Seattle. When his mother was diagnosed with cervical cancer across the country in New York, he couldn't help shuttle her to appointments. He described the time as difficult and frustrating. It was a train or a bus in order for her to get to her apartment, so it was a logistical challenge, to say the least. Speaking from my own personal story, my own personal experience, and my mother, it was a huge burden for her, and it was a huge worry. I think it would have been helpful in that process if we had somebody to drive her. It's incredibly gratifying, he says, to be able to help somebody in that regard. Both men have found healing through helping. I was alone. I was grieving. It gave me a therapeutic lift, Steve said. It was delightful. So now you have the American Cancer Society for a Help Drive Out Cancer. That's right. So you can sign up at their website, which you just Google Help Drive Out Cancer, and you can sign up to be one of these drivers if you want to do that. Sounds like a really, really, really nice thing to do. Before I forget, your chance to win fantabulous prizes. Today, we are giving away a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card. Daniel's Broiler has been a Seattle favorite since 1980, features USDA prime steak and other specialties, including chicken and fresh seafood, as well as a selection of high-end spirits, wine, and cocktails. Daniel's Broiler is open now in Bellevue, downtown Seattle, Leschi, and South Lake Union with dine-in, takeout, and delivery. Check out danielsbroiler.com to reserve a table, place your takeout, delivery order, and more. We're also giving away a copy of 7 Steps to a Successful Retirement by Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs. Visit madronafinancial.com for more information and discover how you can create a rooted wealth plan today. Last but certainly not least, we're giving away 4 tickets to the Evergreen State Fair. Get your tickets now at evergreenfair.com. That's evergreenfair.com. All you have to do in order to win these fantabulous prizes is be caller number 10 at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Caller number 10 will win a $50 Daniels Brother gift card, a copy of 7 Steps to a Successful Retirement by Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs, and 4 tickets to the Evergreen State Fair. Phone lines are open now. Give Mike a call for your chance to win at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Well, that's going to do it for us today, but fear not, my friends. We'll be back tomorrow with more insane stories, more exciting guests, and, of course, more giveaways. You've been listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.